You're watching the TGM production.
Hello and welcome back to One Comedian, 8 Questions. Today's date is the 30th of July. As I've been saying previously, we're not trying to terrify anyone, but August is approaching very quickly, and we're not trying to scare everyone half to death, just in case they're not fully prepared. But we'll find that out when we get to that point. But at the moment, we are trying to keep everything calm, cool, and possibly collected, unless things still need to be collected into a suitcase to take up to Edinburgh. That's a very poor joke. So, we shall crack on. My guest today is best known for rapping her way through comedy. It's the greatest pun I've ever used. It's the one and only Amelia Hamilton.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
You're welcome. So, let's begin with the very first spin of our wheel, the first and probably only time we'll know what question we are on, because why, oh why do I choose to do anything with numbers in? Oh, we're here. This is the first time the wheel has chosen this, which is excellent because this solves the premise. Would you be able to tell our lovely viewers what is your 2026 Edinburgh Fringe Festival show all about? Thank you.
What an excellent question to start with. It is called Moral Support, and it's all about morality and what it
Mm,
means to be good, and whether that can exist, whether it is that clear cut.
yeah.
And it's a lot of me debunking things that we think are good or things that other people think are bad,
Mm,
showing them why maybe they actually are quite good. And yes, it's an hour of rap, stand up. It's the like punchiest stuff I've written
yeah.
so far, which is quite exciting. And I haven't positioned myself as the good guy. So I'm
Ooh.
intrigued to see how people, yeah, react to that.
Yeah. What time and what dates is your 2026 Edinburgh Fringe show on at?
Uh, Time 8:20 p.m. Place Baby Grand, Pleasance Courtyard. Dates, all of them. From the my preview is the 5th of August, and then I think it probably opens on the 7th, and then through to the 30th, and I have one day off in the middle, which is the 19th. But yeah, pretty much pick a day in August and I'll be there.
Yeah. And what you gonna do with your day off?
Don't know. It depends how broken I am by that point.
Yeah.
If we are still very much together, I'll go have a super fun day out. If I am a shell of the human I once was, then I'll go to sleep and sleep some more.
Yeah.
So TBC, we'll see. We'll see
Yeah.
what happens.
Yeah. And do you think that it's important for a festival like this to allow the performers one day off, or do you think that they should just ignore that?
What and just they have to keep
Yeah.
going, no
Yeah.
stopping. I think well, it's always optional. I think some people take more than one day off throughout the run. Some people don't take any days off.
Yeah.
I think it is quite nice to be able to just have one day that there's not any adrenaline
Yeah.
added to your body. Because even once you get into the show, I don't necessarily get nervous, but I'm sure your adrenaline still spikes and you're
Yeah.
still like in that kind of,
Yeah.
I guess, fight or flight mode when you're in front of all
Yeah.
these people and have to entertain them for an hour. So it's nice to try and let those cortisol levels just decrease a little bit for a
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. And because Edinburgh is a festival of a month, do you miss performing that one day, or are you so fed up of performing, you glad that you don't have to think about your show?
I'm not fed up of the show, but it is nice when you're performing every single day to be able to have, yeah, a day
Yeah.
where you can think, well, maybe I just won't put any makeup on. Maybe I'll look terrible. I don't have to worry about being fun. I can just be a boring, like, slob who can just relax for a day or go out and have a lovely time and hang out with people and not have to worry about getting back in time for your show.
Yeah.
That's quite nice too.
Yeah. So you can go out partying all day and then realize, oh no, I'm gonna have a hangover for the next day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah. You can have the regret for later. Save regret for later. Fun
Mm-hmm.
fun now, regret later. And that's probably the motto of Edinburgh. Fun
Yeah.
now and then realise, oh yeah, there is a regret later.
I
So
like to think it's a problem for future me. I
yeah,
give future me a lot of issues. She's
yeah,
not happy with present me or past me. But she can deal with it. She's
yeah.
wiser, she's older, she knows what she's doing.
Yeah. And all the therapists out there are probably, oh, we've got more money coming in. They're probably really happy because there's like 1,000 performers ready for therapy.
Yeah.
Because that's just at the eye-watering cost of Edinburgh. And that's not just mentioning the shows
Yeah.
themselves, that's living in Edinburgh. But on that very political note,
Yeah.
we shall spin the wheel to our next question to see what is question numero two, which isn't a real word. So, going on my excellent final point, who knew this was going to be the next point? Fate, not me. Now, it's very much timely. How do you think the Fringe Festival of Edinburgh, not just uh, Edinburgh in general, because obviously the international festival's got its own problems, and the TV festival that's no longer going to be in Edinburgh, but they are opposing a new TV festival for Edinburgh, which really does just hinder the point. How do you think the Fringe itself can improve? What do you think? Where can you think it goes to be better than it is?
I mean, the easiest, simplest answer to that is make it more accessible financially,
Mm,
because the way that it will be better is by being able to have a greater breadth of people and experience and lives and backgrounds. And it's so
yeah,
prohibitive. Is
yeah,
that the word?
it's a word.
It is a word, sure, we'll go for
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. We'll ask Susie Dent later.
exactly. Yeah, just like accommodation
Yeah,
and marketing materials and
yeah,
flyers and venue costs
yeah,
and all of this stuff. And I know that there is free fringe and things like that, but it is so expensive
yeah,
to put a show on that it stops like incredible people being able to have that
yeah,
experience early on or be able to develop themselves. And yeah, if there was just less barriers to entry
yeah,
financially, it would, I mean, it would be the festival that used to be, right? Like I hear so much about there was like back in the day where
yeah,
people just like take
yeah,
something that's kind of
yeah,
half baked and then they get there and they figure it out, and there's just not really the scope to have that mentality because
yeah,
you have to put so much money behind a thing. The stakes are high. Like
yeah,
it has to be good, and if it's not good, then that is
yeah,
a problem, and if people don't come see it, it's a tricky thing.
yeah,
So yeah, any way that you can make it just play again and people
yeah,
can take more risks and not have to make things that are you think will sell rather
yeah.
than the things that you're interested in or want to make.
Yeah. And not to get too political or to ruin millions of jokes out there, but if if I read Lord and Savior, um, very awful joke, but if Count Binface was the PM, would do you think he would be fixing Fringe? Because obviously he's performed there himself.
Yeah, I guess yeah, that's true. I mean, if he's in instead of Nigel Farage, I don't care what he does. I will take anything as long as it's not Nigel Farage.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, get Count Binface in. I can't see Nigel Farage prioritizing the arts in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But I really would like, how incredible would that
Yeah.
be if like it just made such a mockery of Nigel Farage being
Yeah.
got elected? That would be, I'd love it.
Yeah, and some people have found through quick Google search, probably takes about 20 seconds, that I don't know who he's on with, but he's on a talent agency website, and I just imagine that whoever's representing him has got a really big tricky thing going. Oh, we think you'd be really good for that. Oh yeah, you'll only perform in the Bing costume,
Yeah,
right? Okay, you're the worst client ever because he obviously can only do so little because of his voice is
true.
recognizable.
Although if you're not well or something, you can
Yeah,
send someone else in your place. anyone can be under the bin. You
Yeah.
could have like 5 Count Bin faces around the country. Like the beauty, you can be everywhere as Count Bin face. You
Yeah.
just need to like run a Count Bin face training program,
Yeah.
train up a whole load of people
Yeah.
to answer the questions in the right way, and then you just send them out, and then you just stay at home.
Yeah. Or they could do a Stephen Hawking and program in loads of like alternate answers
Use
to
AI.
play and
Yeah. Like
yeah,
the only reason I would let anybody use AI is
yeah,
if you could send out 10,000 Count Bin faces
yeah,
to do the election campaigning.
yeah. But tracking back to what I was getting at before I got sidetracked with the bin. Um anyway, it probably was bin week this week. But do you think that other fringe festivals that exist like Brighton, somewhere else and other places, right? As you can see, I struggle to think of any others than Brighton
There's,
because
yeah, I mean, there's a fringe in like so many cities
yeah,
now.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
what was your question?
But do you think that the Edinburgh Fringe can learn from the smaller fringe? Because I think Brighton, which is why I mentioned it, I think Brighton is the most well known of the lesser known fringes. Do you think that Edinburgh could learn from how they're managing theirs, even though they're not as big and they've not got as many people? But do you think that they can learn to improve?
I wonder. I think the thing is with Edinburgh, it's someone is making money, and it's
Yeah,
not the performers, and it's not the people who are putting it on, and it's not
yeah,
the people who are um like everybody else is losing money, and there's some people who are making a
yeah,
lot of money, and I think if those people maybe made slightly less
yeah,
money and that money was redistributed,
mm,
that would be better. I guess with Brighton, it is smaller, so I guess it's easier to um try and make it that way. Brighton's Fringe is my favorite other fringe to do.
yeah,
It's always been such a positive experience, and Brighton's
mm,
just the loveliest place, and everybody is
yeah,
so supportive of one another.
yeah,
Um, but I wonder. I think Edinburgh Fringe is its kind of own beast that's kind of evolved into this huge thing, which is amazing, and like how incredible that we have the biggest arts
yeah,
festival in the world. Like how amazing is that it
yeah,
is here?
yeah,
And it would just be nice if we could, yeah, have
yeah,
as many people who would like to try
yeah.
to be allowed to do so.
Yeah, and I think Brighton is such a very nice place. The thing I remember, because I've only ever been once, my memory of Brighton is there was it felt like New York in a way because there was a bloke, I'm assuming it was a bloke, dressed as a knockoff Mickey Mouse costume, but it was like so knockoff it could have been auditioning for that Mickey Mouse horror film, which was the
Oh,
Backstreet
really?
Boys. So it was so creepy, but that just represents Brighton in a nutshell. Not that it's creepy, no, that it's you're allowed to just perform and no one cares that it's
It's a very encouraging place and accepting place, and
yeah,
they've got green MPs. Like, is it one of the few ones? And like, I
yeah,
think it's yeah, it's a place that is very like open
yeah,
and liberal and welcoming, and obviously with that then cultivates a very healthy arts and
yeah,
culture scene.
yeah. And so on that note, we shall spin on to our next question, which we do know is question number three, because I wasn't counting, but I do know that. So tracking back to as far as you can remember, or far as you can be bothered to remember, because sometimes the answer might not be the best answer you can come up with. But what was the first joke you told?
Ooh, do you mean on stage or just like in my life?
Just in general, just in general. So
My
the
God.
origins of the ha ha ha's.
That's an interesting question. I would assume something from a joke book
Yeah,
that I would have had when I was little. Um, I wonder what the first actual joke I came
yeah,
up with as a child with. I think I can remember my sister's joke that she used to tell when she was probably about 4 or something.
yeah,
She always used to go, "Why did the chicken cross the road to get to the top of the tower?" But it would be anything to get to the top of the
yeah,
tower.
yeah,
Like it would be like, "Why did the duck cross the road to get to the top of the tower?"
yeah,
Why? And that was her joke, that
yeah,
it was to get to the top of the tower.
yeah,
I remember that. Um, But I wonder, I have no idea. What's the first joke I wrote for stage? I'm trying to think of, I did a like stand-up course in
Yeah.
Brighton actually.
Oh yeah.
It's really, really good course run by Jill Edwards. This has helped me a lot to like start writing, set
Yeah.
up punchlines. And I think one of the first jokes I wrote, what would I have said? I have no idea. That's so funny,
Yeah.
isn't it? That like at the moment my
Yeah.
brain is full of this show.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I can't actually remember any of
Yeah.
those jokes. They will have been terrible. They would
Yeah.
have been really, really bad.
Yeah.
Um,
But
yeah.
but I think that it's one of those things where Charles Brandreth, right, the man, the myth, the legend, mentioned this on Sunday brunches that memory is such a tricky thing, which I think he had a memory expert on his podcast to talk about how not no one's got a first memory, and they piece together other things. So I think that you not being able to remember the joke is part of the sign of that memory is. A fickle thing, which I think is absolutely hilarious because his podcast relies on people's first memories, and he exposed the fact that no one has a first memory, even though that is what he's doing at the Edinburgh Fringe as well. But it's one of those things where you always have a first joke, but you're never going to be proud of it because it might be
No.
Timmy might have told you the worst joke, like why did the bugger cross the road because they need to get out someone's nose, which is probably not a real joke. But I do think that why the chicken crossed the road is a simple premise because
Mm.
it's A, you don't really see many chickens cross the road. It's usually sheep or cows or
Yeah,
goats.
some kind of animal that is out on the loose.
Yeah,
Chickens, they're not.
no, no. And someone says that I think a good way of phrasing the chicken. Why did the chicken cross the road? Because he wanted it to be used for KFC. Is a good way of saying it because that will annoy any vegans. But do you think that when you first decided to do stand up, do you think that you already had a rough idea of what type of jokes you wanted to tell?
No, no, definitely not. I think, yeah, I loved stand up and I've always
Yeah,
been a big, big comedy fan.
yeah,
But I mean, it's the reason I did a course is because I was like, but I can't go on
yeah,
stage and what would I say? Like,
yeah,
what would
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
And so there's lots of like exercises that
yeah,
help you start to cultivate, like if you write just like a fact about yourself and
yeah,
then try and put a right turn at the end and
yeah,
be like, okay, that's a rough, just a joke set up
yeah,
punch structure. But I had no idea.
yeah,
I still don't really think I have that much foresight and like planning
yeah,
about what I want to write about. It's just the stuff that I'm interested in or that's in my brain or I have a particularly strong emotional reaction
yeah.
to. That's what ends up becoming the jokes.
Yeah. And so just before we move on, I do like to say, because I don't think many people talk about it, but Patrick Kilty, I don't know if you know who he is, the Irish, Northern Irish comedian who now hosts the Late Late Show. He did a film. I can't remember the name of the film, but it's about him going to a stand-up comedy course and trying to learn stand up after the breakup of his
Really?
I think it's I think his wife must have died or something. It's I mean it's a good film. I've only seen it once. I do need to rewatch it, but it's one of those. It's about going to one of those comedy courses and he's learning how to stand up and he tries it out, and it's all about the fact that he's depressed, but this is helping him. Do you think that for you? Though the comedy course has not only helped you to become the person you are now, but also helped you growing confidence in your everyday life.
I think it's nice to have a validation that, like, if you go on stage, you're not gonna die, you will be
Yeah,
fine. And someone's like giving it a stamp of approval. And yeah, it was a few years ago now. But I think, yeah, to know that you can like handle a room, you can
yeah,
handle different situations, and like you completely have a whole new like training ground when
yeah,
you're just out gigging, and a lot of the stuff you have to kind of unlearn a little
yeah,
bit. But it's very good to try and like keep you disciplined at the beginning. But yeah, being able to know I you can put me in front of a big group of people
yeah,
and I'll handle it. Like that's a pretty cool thing to be able to think about yourself.
Yeah. So on that note, let's spin on to find out our next question. The film is available to purchase. I don't know where, but it's available to purchase. It's a well worth watching film. It's one of those where it looks doom and gloom, but it's Patrick Kilty at his best, and it teaches other people that you can easily learn stand up. You don't need to be like Jimmy Carr. You can be Bob on the street.
You can be you, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
true.
And so over the past few years, I'm going to say three, but I could be slightly wrong. There's been a program on BBC Scotland, and I don't think you've probably seen it because you're too busy in the well, not actually in well, you're too busy involved in the premise of the program, shall we say? Is the better word of it. Um, and if you have seen it, how do you think that Edinburgh Unlocked, hosted by Mark Nilsson, has accurately represented the Fringe? How do you think that a show like that, which is all about the Fringe, how do you think it's representing the Fringe to TV viewers?
I haven't seen it. What is it?
Well, it's Mark Nielsen, and he wandered about the streets of Edinburgh during the Fringe. So each episode is of the Fringe length. It's a whole month. It's three episodes or four, and he goes around talking to different acts. So he'll talk to a woman that wants volunteers dress up as poos, and so then he dresses up as a giant poo, and Mark Watson then joins them later on. Or he talks about baby shows that are on where it is for adults, but babies are welcome, or what podcasts are on there, and then it has a segment where newer comedians that haven't appeared on TV get to get every either a few minutes from their show or their best gag that they can think of. But do you
No.
think a show like that for BBC Scotland, do you think that that will help represent the Fringe? Because it's not just saying, oh, look at all these famous people that you already know are on there. Yes, Mary
Yeah.
Margolyes is there. Yes, Brian Cox is there. But also, there's a woman doing the Wheel of Death that I think, why is she not wearing any harnesses? But you wouldn't have known that without a
Yeah.
show like that.
I mean, totally. I think if you are truly a supporter of the arts or comedy or all of this stuff, the best thing that you can do is book a ticket to a show of someone you've never heard of
Yeah,
and that is starting to establish themselves. They will be so grateful
yeah,
and so happy that you're there, and you'll have a new experience
yeah,
and it will be different. And I think, you know, the Fringe at its best is when it is a mishmash of weird,
yeah,
wonderful, great, terrible stuff.
yeah,
And to put yourself in the midst of that, or to get a sense of that that's the case. Obviously, yeah, that's a
yeah,
fantastic premise of a show to be able to showcase some of what Fringe is. And I've had friends who've come up to visit, and each year more of
yeah,
them come back because they are telling our wider group of friends, oh no,
yeah,
it's really cool, and this happens and this happens. And
yeah,
then so like this year, I think one weekend I've got 11 people coming up,
fine,
just friends of mine
yeah,
who were like, oh well, we want to experience that now and we
yeah,
want to see what that's like.
yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that because it's not just the Fringe in itself, it's the international festival as well. They've got correspondents at like different comedians go up to the international Fringe and they showcase that. What's interesting about Unlocked is that unlike Next Up Comedy, where you watch someone's show, which is still good, but with this one, it's telling them about the place, interview someone, and then they promote their show and say you can watch it at this time at this place. And because the show, I don't know when it films, but it's during the month.
Nice. Yeah.
Someone that's watching it might go, oh, that sounds really interesting, and then they can still book if obviously if it's not sold out by then, they can then go and see that show because they've had it promoted to them. And one of the funniest bits from last year's series is there's a podcast, and this woman, she has been doing it on the BBC, and it's not as popular, but it's got a growing fan base because it was still relatively new. And she said her parents didn't know she did it because it was a topic that she wasn't too happy with her parents wouldn't be too happy with her doing it, and it just makes me laugh because she's like, I've just told the nation I'm doing this thing. My parents don't know about it.
Even though.
What if they accidentally turn on BBC Scotland at that time? They'll go, what's she doing there? And then she'll
Yeah.
get in trouble. So I do think you have to be careful what you say on national telly. But do you think that having the BBC up there and then having Next up in Edinburgh doing stuff about the fringe, not just a dash in the pan 20-minute segment on BBC News, but a whole dedicated thing? Do you think that that helps to make Edinburgh accessible? Because Next up makes sure that people can watch some of the shows that they might not get a chance to see because they might not be able to make it or financial reasons. But and then Edinburgh Unlocked lets you see other things out there and hear interesting stories, even though you might not make it. Do you think that's a step forward for making the fringe accessible?
Absolutely. For punters, I guess, I didn't even kind of dip into that, but obviously the more expensive it gets
Yeah,
for performers, likewise, the more expensive it gets for anybody who wants to come and experience it. So yeah, you're completely right. People who just are not going to spend or able to spend loads of money to travel up to Edinburgh, stay in Edinburgh,
yeah,
and buy tickets to all these shows can get a sense of, oh, wow, I never knew that could be a
yeah,
thing or that this is a thing. And the more that that's showcased and this we're incredible world
yeah,
leaders in like comedy and
yeah.
entertainment, so it's wonderful to be able to show that off to people, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think what's really good as well about Unlocked before we move on is that because of the way that the internet works, it's very clippable. So someone that might have appeared on the show for like 10 minutes, that clip will go viral, and then if they go on a world tour, because most international festival acts will go on world tours, they can then sell out because that clip's gone a little bit nuts, and someone's gone, ooh, and someone in Japan's gone, can I come and see this? And then they go, well, I'll go perform in Japan. If language barriers ain't the problem, because the wheel of death is quite. I do think that,
Yeah, it's quite universally
yeah.
I'm assuming it's where you like strap yourself to something and then it like spins.
Well, not the clip I've seen. It's from what I can gather, it is. But it sees women, right? They're very bendy, but they're not even attached to any wires, and they're just spinning around in mini pods in this
Oh,
circle, and it's going. That's more dangerous than I thought it was going to be. I thought health and safety was going to go. You need a harness on that, but no. She's wearing like a ballerina-esque costume, and so she's probably got no room to attach anything. But then she's just spinning around doing handstands and whatnot.
well, yeah, you can take that worldwide.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's terrifying. I wouldn't want to do that. That would terrify me, and also you'd be worried about your life whilst you're doing
I think,
it.
yeah, leave it to the professionals, that
Yeah.
one. That's maybe
Yeah.
not one to try just on a weekend.
Yeah. But do you think that Fringe having shows where parents can come up and it's for them, but that can allow babies in it? Because obviously, if you bring a baby into, let's say, an 18 plus show, even though the baby's not going to understand a dicky bird of what's going on, it'll still distract everyone. But do you think, because they've got, from the clip I saw, for this one show, they had like the little baby area, so all the babies are on the floor. And so the babies are just kicking their legs up in the air, and then if
Sweet.
they need to change the nappy, they can change the nappy whilst the show's going on. But do you think that that's good that the Fringe has allowed that to occur, that has allowed family shows but aren't directly at family but are allowing the babies in?
Yeah, I think it depends on the performer, doesn't it? Like it depends what your act is like and what you want and the
Yeah,
environment and the ambience you want to create and being having the freedom to do that is always good, I think.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's nice that there are kids shows as well that also adults can come to and enjoy. And there's like a good number of stand-ups actually who are doing kids shows this year at the Fringe, like Spencer Jones and Mark Watson. They've both got kids shows as
yeah,
well as their like normal kind of comedy shows. So yeah, sounds really good.
yeah. And so on that note, let's spin the wheel again to see what we'll get. Let's see what the wheel will spatter to us. Ooh. Now, this sort of things happen now in a rapid rate, right? For example, one day it might be 24 degrees, next minute it might be 40 degrees, and then 3 minutes later, a BBC drama might have emerged about the heat wave. So things can change in a rapid rate where we have the hottest summer, and then the BBC have magically made a drama about a heat wave, and it's happening at the same time, and that's like by accident, might I add, but that's a rapid change. from your point of view, from where you are stood, sat, or whatever position you are in right now, right? In that sense, how do you think the comedy industry has changed, evolved, and developed since you first dipped your little
Mm.
pinky into the water?
I think, I mean, we're speaking quite topically the day after we've realised Live at the Apollo's been cancelled,
Yeah,
and what the other couple of shows that it was as well, like
yes,
Celebrity
but
Mastermind or things like this, and
yeah,
Mock the Week has been moved over to TLC and things
yeah,
like that. So obviously the traditional kind of um rungs of a ladder
yeah,
that you might be looking to climb are
yeah,
being removed. And it's just a different, yeah, it's a different landscape
yeah,
about what your aims are different, your um the ways you're approaching it are different.
yeah,
I think from my point of view, the only thing you can do as a stand-up is love what you're doing,
yeah,
love creating something, love producing stuff
yeah,
and performing, and then, see what other opportunities
yeah,
there are to facilitate that. But yeah, I just love writing comedy and
yeah,
performing comedy. So
yeah,
hopefully there'll be more and more avenues that open up
yeah,
to help that. But yeah, it's a different thing in the last few years.
yeah.
Now there's no money in telly, no
Yeah.
money in that stuff.
Yeah, and that's what's really handy about only just graduating a television and radio course where I joined, and this is the best bit. And I love this tell. So you join, then about a year or so later, Blue Peter, who were next door to the university, moved. Then the BBC had to move building from another one, and then it's like they no longer do like live audiences and certain shows. So like the whole of the reason why that area exists just sort of like ceased to be the powerhouse that it once was. And I find that rather hilarious because it's like you spend all this money for university and you realize the industry just, and you find out like millions of jobs are being cut, and
Yeah.
you're on this. I'm the one looking at all this doom and gloom and all the lectures like, oh yeah, everything's fine, and you just every day you open your phone going, oh no, and it makes you
Yeah,
upset.
it's about pivoting though, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's being aware of the things and using the skills that you've got to be like this.
yeah,
There's lots of different opportunities
yeah,
that are opening as well as
yeah.
causing.
But I think that TLC being in existence in what it is now, rather than being, it still is Dr. Pimple Popper and what's it called? It's 90 Day Fiancé,
Yes,
or,
yes,
or
yes.
or the other one, which is that woman. I've seen an advert for it. It's a woman, and she's got like Bryony or something or Bronte, and she's got Tourette's, and it's a whole program about the fact that she's now about to get married, but she's got Tourette's. So I mean, that's TLC in a nutshell. But what TLC I think is doing Big Bang Theory and Young Sheldon and George and Mandy's first marriage, and then having TLC branch out into British comedy like Zero Stars and Mock the Week. I think that it'll help. I think develop the industry further because Dave used to do all the random
Yeah.
panel shows, and obviously John Richardson, Catherine Ryan, and Joel Dommett are doing the new Top Trumps panel show, and then which is based on the game Top Trumps,
Ooh.
because why not? And then obviously Ed Gamblad is unacceptable, and so I think that having a hole where Lively Polo is, I think won't be there for long because I think that TLC will see because they've commissioned Motley for three more series and they did a summer special and it's proving to be popular. So I think Lively Polo will return. I think it'll just be a year before they
Yeah, in
start getting
different
up.
forms.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think that what's good about like the Apollo is that you can easily sell tickets because the clips, because it's so clippable. Because you can say like a routine of, like 3 minutes, and that could be easily clippable. But do you think that because of Lively Apollo now at this moment in time not being the thing, not no longer being around, even though there is another series coming, which has already been filmed. Do you think that there is a avenue? Can you think of anything that inspires that comedians are aspiring to, like a Taskmaster? But is there something in a more of a traditional stand-up route that you think is the next thing that was going to replace Live in the Pongo anyway?
I don't think so, and I think that's the problem, is that
Yeah,
there isn't these real pillars
yeah,
of these markers that I've made it because I did this thing and then I did this
yeah,
thing. And so it's slightly muddier as to what success looks like. And obviously online following is so
yeah,
important now. Um, but yeah, I think that's kind of the problem, is trying to work out, okay, if you remove those
yeah.
traditional pillars of success, what does that look like now? And I think we're still trying to like work out what that might be.
Yeah, and I think what's also interesting is how much the BBC are covering the news itself. So like Susie McCabe was on the Today programme on BBC Radio 4 to
Yeah.
talk about it, and it's really interesting when that does occur. I know they have to mention it, but they're talking about it in a sense of what's going to happen to the industry, which is a problem because the BBC have decided to cut it to save money. Do you think that that's the problem? Even though the BBC needs to save money, they're still allowing programs to talk about it and have experts on to say
Oh
why this
no,
is the
no.
problem.
I don't think so. I think it's important to, if you pride yourself in being impartial and able to talk about any topic, it's
Yeah,
it's important to then use, be
yeah,
that.
yeah,
So I think it's always good to be able to uh not censor yourself or
yeah.
sanitize any of it. Otherwise we end up being like America.
Yeah. And before we spin on, I do think the one of the funny things that the BBC have done recently is the fact that Dara O'Brien was on the One Show to promote Mock the Week. And I just think that's incredible because obviously the BBC cancelled Mock the Week. And then having Dara O'Brien say, we got cancelled by the BBC a few years ago, and then which is really sad, and we're all really annoyed. But now we're glad it's back on another channel. I just think it's just hilarious because you don't really tend to get that. You don't really have when a BBC program goes elsewhere. You don't really have the person back on to say, "Look how much is thriving elsewhere without you," which is funny on their part and embarrassing because there's someone up there watching that going, "Yeah, we've sort of messed up there," because it's ultra popular. I think it's mega popular because I think they're going to include newer acts in the future series. So I do think that if we promote it right, I think we could see you one more the week in the following three series. Because it's looking for newer people. If Scott Bennett can get on, anyone can get on. Not saying he's bad. I'm just saying that he is one of the people that are lesser known to the telly world than some others. So if he can get on it, there's an avenue for anyone else. But on that note, let's spin the wheel to our next question. Let's find out what it's gonna be. What is it gonna be? Oh, we've had a repeat. Let's spin again. What is the key thing you would or wouldn't change about the first time you did a show at the Edinburgh Fringe?
Ooh, God, so much actually. It was, yeah, I, you're just learning, aren't you? I
Yeah,
think the first time, um, it was like very rough and ready and messy, and um, you don't quite know how the world works. So I guess but maybe then nothing, because how do you learn what you want and what you want more of, or what you don't want at all? Um, so maybe nothing in the long run.
yeah,
But yeah, it was like a mind, like whoa,
yeah,
experience that was amazing. And yeah, I learned so much, and I feel
yeah,
like every single year I've just learned so much, and I am excited to see this year what I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, learning all the new stuff.
Yeah, and then next year will be better than the previous year because you've learned and you've developed and you realise what the audience at Edinburgh really desire.
Yeah.
And so on that note, let's spin on to our next question. Let's see what it's gonna be. And we've had another repeat. Let's spin again. Let's spin a lot faster. We'll hope we won't get a repeat. Oh, so as a child, what TV show inspired you to get into comedy, if any?
Do you know what? My parents were massive fans of shooting stars.
Yeah.
And we were too young to watch that stuff, but they did uh let us,
Yeah.
see some of that stuff. And so I guess that would be the first one that comes to mind. Um, I mean, maybe even chuck in Live at the Apollo, actually.
Yeah.
You get a sense of like, oh my word, this is incredible. Who are these people? And learning about stand-up and what a stand-up set looks like. Yeah, those are probably the two that come to mind.
Yeah, and I think Shooting Stars teaches you how to be alternative and how to make a song about a jack potato and find it funny, even though it doesn't seem like something that would be funny to begin. You wouldn't see Bob Monkhouse tell a joke about jack potatoes, but you would find Matt Lucas dressed as a baby singing a song about jack potato because why not? And do you think that that sort of also helped you develop your style because you realise that there's this traditional style of oh, let's tell a story, but then there's also this wacky style.
Yeah, I mean, just the more experience or like awareness of how broad comedy is. Like
Yeah,
we say it as it's this one thing, but there's so many ways to interpret it. There's so many different forms it can
yeah,
take. And yeah, so it's great to see that from
yeah.
early on.
And so let's spin on to our final question. What's it gonna be? Will it be a repeat? Ooh. So who is or as a person or as a group, what's one comedian or comedy group would you want to be on a bill with?
I am desperate one day to meet Bo Burnham. Bo Burnham is a huge inspiration to me. And he doesn't, obviously, he's not going to be on any bills. He'll be doing his own shows if he ever does that again.
Yeah,
Who knows? Um, but that would, if you're asking my dream,
yeah,
unlikely thing, Bo Burnham every single
yeah.
time.
Yeah. And I don't know much about the Bob with the Burnham, because he always seems a little bit mysterious. Is he American or am I making that up?
He's American, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Him just popping up and going, here's my show, and then disappearing forever. That sounds a lot. But do you think that he's inspired you because of how out there he is and how unique his approach to comedy?
I think it inspires me because of how he can be so funny, but also intellectual, but also silly and also um, interesting and tackling different subject matter. Um, yeah, in a very skillful, innovative way. And you just don't quite know exactly what's coming next. And his lyricism is really, really very good.
Yeah, and so there we have it. That is one comedian, eight question. Now, for people that have got this far, could you remind them the title of your show, where it is, and where people can buy tickets?
Moral support, 8:20 p.m. Baby Grand, Pleasance Courtyard. You can buy tickets if you just type in Amelia Hamilton Moral Support at Edinburgh Fringe, they'll be there.
And so there we have it. Another wonderful interview. Yes, there'll be more from me. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.
Bye bye.